Hello and welcome to TelecomTV's exclusive coverage of the Wi-Fi Global Congress here in London, right by the Tower of London and Tower Bridge actually. And I'm talking with an old friend of TelecomTV, Steve Dyett, Head of Global Wi-Fi Solutions and Portfolio Development at BT Global Services. Steve, great to see you again.
Hi Martin, great to see you too.
Let's begin at the beginning. What are the challenges and the opportunities facing the Wi-Fi industry right now?
Let's start with the easy questions first, eh? Generally, I think it's that question is such a wide point that you probably have to start looking at some of the top level things and then working it down. So, I think a couple of the challenges I think at this moment in time about how Wi-Fi continues to develop and continues to engage people, whether that's about how they use it or how they become engaged with service providers and service partners. Whilst they're using Wi-Fi. I think there are other aspects such as other services that will be developed for using Wi-Fi, whether that's either application-based or network-based, and again the ongoing engagement with the other major service providers like the cellular operators. So how is Wi-Fi going to develop alongside the developments that are with and in cellular, the cellular ecosystem.
Okay, let's move on to spectrum, which seems to be a bugbear for many of the people. How will the increased focus on licensed and unlicensed spectrum, LAA and LTE-U, that kind of thing?
Well, and it's very interesting the way that LTE-U has suddenly started to become a bit of a buzzword. As well as the other two acronyms, LWA and LAA.
How's it going to affect providers? How's it going to affect vendors? And how's it going to affect the users? Any order you like.
Any order I like. I was going to say it's interesting on that one. So firstly, I think we need to work out how technically it's going to work, because I still think there are challenges in that area of how it's going to be deployed, whether one particular option of LTE-U will outwin another. So, is it a Betamax VHS type video for those people who remember videos rather than video recorders? I think that's still got to play out. And then if there is a winner or if there is a preferred option, how that is going to work with Wi-Fi, right? Yes, it is unlicensed spectrum, but unless there's a cooperation between the Wi-Fi providers and the cellular providers about what it is that is actually going to be operated on, we could find ourselves in a bit of an area that's going to cause problems. So LAA, for argument's sake, how it's going to interact with Wi-Fi and play fair and nice with the existing ecosystem that's there at this moment in time is of paramount. LWA and how that profusion of services is going to work in the cellular industry, again, will create challenges which have to be developed, overcome, and best practices absorbed. And actually, to push that back towards the WBA, is the WBA needs to be fully engaged and part of those discussions with the other members of the ecosystem. And I can tell you that the WBA is looking at how LTE-U is going to affect what challenges are going to come up from the use of LTE-U and how that's going to benefit all of our customers, suppliers, venue owners, the full works. And I think it just becomes part and parcel of that mix in the ecosystem to use that capacity and drive forward the expectation and requirements of what the end users want.
But what about the sort of pending battles, or not so pending, or impending battles between the vendors? I mean, there's some operators and vendors are at loggerheads already.
Well, I think they're at loggerheads because there's no clear view of what's going to happen. And again, it's still not clear what the originating bodies like the IEEE and the IETF are going to promote, and then from when it goes into the GSMA, the WFA, and the WBA, how that reaction is going to happen. Now, if I step back and take a view on this, I think the view should be that there is a need for this service, and therefore it should be no one body that looks at it and says this is how it's going to operate. There should be some guidelines set out of how it wishes to operate, but then the other bodies have got to come in and have that discussion. Because it's not a cellular operation, it is not a Wi-Fi operation, it is one of the very few cases, I think, where the technologies will come together to create the service and create the benefit for what needs to be done. Therefore, all parties in that ecosystem need to have a view and involvement in what needs to be done.
What about the users then, Steve? Because, I mean, one of the problems with Wi-Fi is the monetization aspect of it. It's okay for the enterprise, we can get that in there, fine. But the end users, in many cases, the man in the street, woman in the street, expect to get Wi-Fi more or less free.
Well, they do, and I think that's a perception and a value perception that is, in my mind, fairly incorrect. Even the word free is incorrect, because what it should be, if you're going to do that, is free to the end user, right? Someone's still got to pay for that deployed, maintained, operated, and actually in the Wi-Fi industry, it's part of the monetization. It's not the only model that you can have. It's part of that monetization, and that monetization may well be 6 to 8 different business cases that work upon the asset that you have. I actually believe that the coming together of and deployment of LTE-U will add to that monetization. Okay. Because the fact is that in that view, LTE-U is a combination of the capacity that both Wi-Fi drive with the customer base of mobile operators. Now, if that's the case, that's the view that I have on that, which is that because it's a customer approach, because it's a solution to the capacity and service delivery, that it's never going to be free, right? There is a cost to deploy it, there are costs to use it, and therefore there's got to be some recoup on that somewhere. Now, how that's going to happen, I think there will be existing models that can be applied to that, as well as potentially some new models. As it's a combination of 2 cost bases. You wouldn't be doing it unless one was slightly cheaper than the other one or gave you another benefit. So that's got to be reflected in how that approach works. So I think the end user should benefit from this. Whether they are the primary beneficiary of this, I think that will depend on the monetization schemes that you will use. But it's got to be good for the consumer, because it will give them more opportunity to do exactly what they want to do.
You mentioned the WBA and the sort of dispassionate, honest broker in all this. What do you make of the role of the Wireless Broadband Alliance? How important is it? And is it in the right place at the right time?
Now, that's a very interesting question, seeing BT was a founder member of the WBA. And I myself remember when our working sessions as such, which happened 2 days before, the first 2 days before this conference, I went to roundtable 3, and we're probably up to about roundtable 32, 33, something like this. So the WBA has grown and developed and evolved and matured. And as J.R. Wilson said, as the chair of the WBA, it has moved the Wi-Fi industry moved it on significantly, and it will continue to do so. And so I think the role of the WBA which is not a standards body, but looks at the best practice, the guidelines to deploy, to operate, to manage, to address and lobby for things like LTE-U, are something it should continue to do. And I think it's in exactly the right place where it needs to be. It is now, and has been for certain years, a respected body, an impartial body even, that reflects its member base. And its member base is growing significantly. This is probably the largest, I think it is the largest congress that's happened.
It's certainly busy.
It's certainly busy. The queue for the coffee is getting longer and longer.
It's almost impossible.
So I do think, Martin, that it is in the right place. It has a good membership. It has a good ethos and good ethic, contribution ethic behind it, and therefore I think it should stand up and take a rightful place in that ecosystem.
Well, Steve, given what you've just said, BT founder member.
Yes.
You are the operator sponsor here in London. How important is it for you at BT to be seen to be in that position, to be a sponsor and and to drive the thing forward and to support it in this way?
So of the time, which is now 12 years, 11, 12 years that the WBA has been in existence, BT's been on the board for the whole of the time. It has held the chair or the co-chair position for at least the last 7 or 8 years. It is very important for us to be there. It's important for us to be in a body to understand what's going on in the industry, to lead where we're able to, and influence where we're able to, and provide useful and contributing information to those guidelines based upon our experience as an operator. And we, as well as other members of the WBA itself, will be there and will contribute and develop those areas that we feel are very important. I think we have pretty much involvement in all of the work group sessions and in all of the work groups and marketing approaches that we have, and I can't see a reason why we wouldn't continue to do so.
Excellent. Steve Dyett, as usual, great to see you, and thanks very much.
Thanks very much, Martin. Thank you.